There have been 15 stars of My 600 Pound Life who have either died during or after the filming of the show, and in this mega compilation of my videos, looking at each of them in depth. Starting with the fan favourite from season 1, Henry Foote, who died in mysterious circumstances. 47-year-old Henry starred in the first season of the show and quickly won fans over with his affable personality and his commitment to losing weight.
Move that chair.
Sit back, huh?
You don't want that? You don't want chair? Mine's on the bathroom.
A long trip.
No problem.
Despite being almost 750 pounds at the start of the show, viewers found him relatable, genuine, and his story inspiring.
3.5 years ago, I was the operation manager of a transportation company. This may look like a step down, but it's a new beginning.
He started the show for a heartwarming reason, as he wanted to lose weight in time for his high school reunion, and the show tracked him over 7 years. In that time, he managed to get his weight down to a whopping 275 pounds, less than half of what he weighed during the start of the show. But Henry's journey was not without its trials. In an unforeseen turn of events, during a skin removal surgery, Henry's heart stopped on the operating table. In a candid conversation with TLC, he recounted his near-death experience, sharing how he saw the light to take him to heaven, but decided he wasn't ready for it.
I saw the light. It was just like having an out-of-body experience. If that was to like take me to heaven, I wasn't ready for it.
This moment on the show brought him even closer to the fans who supported him. However, this would only foreshadow upcoming events. In 2012, the same year his series was aired, tragedy struck when Henry was involved in a fatal accident.
Police identified the woman killed in a horrible shuttle bus accident in the Med Center. 43-year-old Carlette Blake was pinned between the bus and a pole after witnesses say the driver passed out and lost control.
He lost control of a shuttle bus he was driving during a medical episode and tragically killed an innocent woman standing on the street. The event led to speculation online that Henry had died in the crash, but he lived for another year before his untimely demise. In 2013, he would tragically die from causes which have not been publicly revealed. The next star, however, would have a much more public cause of death, but an equally as challenging journey. Sean Milliken was one of the heaviest participants ever on the show, tipping the scales at over 900 pounds, which is around the same weight as a male polar bear. Sean's weight problems began early in life. During high school, a leg injury confined him to his bed, and his weight began to spiral out of control from there. His relationship with his father was also strained, and he turned to food for comfort, an issue that was further exacerbated by his physical injuries and weight gain. On the show, Sean shared his fear that he wouldn't live to see his 30th birthday if he didn't make drastic changes. To this end, Sean made the brave decision to seek help, leaving his bed for the first time in years to travel all the way to Houston. From there, he hoped to undergo potentially life-saving surgery with the renowned weight loss surgeon Dr. Now Zaradan, also known as Dr. Now. If Sean's story does not serve as a cautionary tale to get help sooner, then nothing will. He was able to shed 400 of his gargantuan 900 pounds of body weight after he had moved back in with his mother in Texas.
When Sean arrived here, he was 1,003 pounds. But we started him on 800 calorie a day controlled diet, and he started losing weight rapidly. 636. So we're gonna put you for surgery. Thank you.
Many people called his mother an enabler, as she was equally as unhealthy as Sean was prior to him losing weight. This meant that after some time after moving in with his mother, he would start to gain weight again after picking up bad habits from her. And this would be proven in 2017. Just 1 year after Sean moved back in with his mother, she would die due to renal failure or kidney failure. This obviously broke Sean, and he admitted that he was struggling to cope with the pain of losing his mother and having a strained relationship with his father.
I'm sorry to hear about the loss of your mom.
Thanks.
How you holding up with that?
Trying, doing my best.
Well, instead of losing, you gained 31 pounds. And we have to get this under control, Sean, because you need to be able to take care of yourself.
This, compounded with his addiction to food, made his weight loss journey even more difficult, but he soldiered on and kept to a healthy lifestyle. However, it would not last long, as in 2019, Sean's father made a devastating announcement. Sean was admitted to hospital a couple of days ago because of an infection. Sunday, he was having problems with his breathing. They were able to resuscitate him, and a short time later, his heart stopped. Fans of the show were devastated with the news, writing tweets with their messages of grief. Rest in peace, Sean. You're with your mother now. The next star of the show, however, would not be able to keep his weight off and would pay the ultimate price as a direct result. James King joined the show weighing in at over 790 pounds. He was completely dependent on his wife and children to do daily tasks, as his monstrous weight meant that James was unable to ever leave his bed.
Lisa.
Huh? Did you call me?
Yeah, I went to the bathroom. I need to be cleaned up.
Okay.
Driven by desperation of a better life and encouragement from his father, James took a massive leap of faith in a bid to get his life back on track and decided to try and seek help. He took out a second mortgage on his house, a huge financial risk, in order to go from his home in Kentucky to Texas in order to see Dr. Now.
Weight loss surgery is probably my best and only chance I'm gonna have to survive.
Cameras started rolling, and after his episode of the show aired, fans of the show started to call James and his wife the most delusional couple ever, and it was easy to see why, after he questioned Dr. Now's advice and fought back against his recommendations.
You don't think your weight has to do anything with your eating habit?
No, I don't.
So what do you think your weight comes from, thin air? James, your weight is related to what you eat.
Well, he's not eating over 900 calories a day.
During his hospital stay, his wife would sneak him food and James would not stick to his strict weight loss regime, which caused many people to question his determination. This was proven when his weight would balloon from 791 pounds to 840 pounds while still being on the show in hospital.
We're trying to help you. You have not followed any of our direction. And you really believe that you're not eating very much. You believe that she's helping you and not bringing you any food. But that's not reality.
His weight caused him a plethora of health issues, including liver cirrhosis, kidney failure, and sepsis. Despite all of these issues very clearly caused by overeating, he would continue to deny it was his weight gain and overeating, and even go as far to claim his body doesn't burn any calories.
And
We
you
want
wanted
his
to
life
do it-
different.
No, you're the one that you're hurting him, okay?
I'm not hurting him. I haven't gave him no food. I done told you that. I'm tired of you accusing me.
How do you explain his weight?
I don't know, Doctor, now, but I'm telling you right
Okay,
now,
and-
I have not gave him no food.
Okay, this
How does
is
she
all
lose 80
miracle,
pounds in
right?
No, it's not a miracle. His body doesn't burn calories.
Look,
Unfortunately, James did not change his attitude to his weight loss, and neither did his wife. Dr. Now eventually dismissed him from the program after James showed a constant lack of care.
unfortunately, James, we can't get through to you, and Lisa won't stop feeding you. And if you don't agree to spend just 5 days apart from her, then there's nothing we can do.
In 2020, James tragically died at just 49 years old in a hospital in Nashville, just 3 years after he appeared on the show. The next patient to see Dr. Now would be slightly more receptive to the weight loss, but would lose his life in completely different circumstances. Robert Buchel was on the show during the 2017 series, and his weight peaked at over 842 pounds, almost one of the heaviest contestants on the show ever. Despite this, over the course of a few months, he managed to shift almost 300 pounds. The issues would begin to manifest after Robert's surgery, after he was administered highly addictive painkillers, which would cause a dark turn in his story. Despite the massive progress made in fighting his addiction with food, he would just replace it with an equally as dangerous addiction to these painkillers.
Because he didn't understand that he was addicted to them. So it was a surprise to him when we cut him off to save his life.
Robert was on these painkillers as he needed surgery to remove the excess weight, his bariatric surgery, and to remove multiple lymphedema masses. This obviously left him in substantial pain, and as a result, He grew dependent on these painkillers. He quickly spiraled into an addiction as he would become more and more desperate to get his hands on the drugs. At one point, Robert tore through his surgical stitching in order to reach for more painkillers. He was sent back to the rehab center, but he reportedly refused to even attempt to exercise without the use of painkillers.
My leg is not letting me do it. Not me wanting to do this problem.
Just stop with the excuses. Every time you bring it up, you just go back to, I can't get up, I can't get up. Well, you can.
Just 5 months after filming had begun with Robert, he tragically suffered a heart attack in November of 2017. James L.B. Bonner, a 30-year-old man from Lexington, South Carolina. Unlike most stars of the show, L.B. was well liked by viewers for his positive outlook on life and determination to shed the pounds. During his weight loss program, he would often reach out and thank fans for their ongoing support, something we don't usually see from My 600 Pound Life stars. LB's story was quite different from the other stars too, as he had his right leg amputated below the knee as a result of an unfortunate quad biking accident. Due to his massive size, he found walking extremely difficult, as his prosthetic leg was unable to support his weight for long periods of time, leaving him practically immobile. The constant pain of walking with this much stress on his leg was difficult for him to deal with. Reflecting on this, LB comments, "There are days where I just feel so worthless. I think I'd be better off in the ground, so I just stay home and I don't go out." LB also suffered with his mental health, often remarking on how his social anxiety prevented him from leaving the house anyway.
I hate coming to grocery stores because I feel like 20 minutes after I walk in, I'm going to have a damn panic attack.
Because my whole life I've always been, one of the biggest people everywhere I've went. Then you add the fake leg into it, and I'm a 6'4" bald pirate. Of course people are gonna look.
LB used food as a coping mechanism, eating and drinking the calories to calm him down. Solely relying on his mother's help for everything, LB was desperate to turn his life around. Before visiting Dr. Now in Houston, LB weighed a whopping 642 pounds. Dr. Now placed LB on a strict calorie deficit diet, which LB followed willingly and was able to undergo the weight loss surgery to continue the program.
You show me that you're willing to work hard to do this, so I think you're ready, and we'll go ahead and put you for weight loss surgery.
I definitely wasn't expecting to hear that, but that's awesome news.
He regularly exceeded his weight loss goals to Dr. Now's delight. In one of his weigh-ins, LB lost over 100 pounds in 2 months, exceeding his goal of 80 pounds.
I know for sure I never want to be the person I used to be when it comes to food or alcohol again. I never want to fall back into that.
His positive outlook was refreshing to see, as many other stars of the show either quit early or made up excuses as to why they weren't losing any weight. LB was inspiring and sent the right message to viewers of the show. Nearly a year in his weight loss surgery, LB's life had already improved dramatically. He'd got a new prosthetic leg, making it easier to run, and he'd started to be more independent. His episode ends with an uplifting message.
My future ahead is bright. I'm excited about it, and I can't wait to see what it holds for me now.
As the show ended, LB continued his weight loss journey, getting as low as 200 pounds. He also shared this Facebook post to thank fans for their support. It was clear from this post though that LB was struggling with his mental health, and fans began to worry. Within a few days of posting this message, LB had tragically passed away on the 2nd of June 2018 at the age of just 30 years old. He was found with a gunshot wound to his head in a park ditch near his home in Lexington. Fans were heartbroken. I'm so sad he took his life. He seemed like a really good guy. Any woman would have been lucky to have a good man like LB. LB's passing is difficult to process due to his positive attitude in turning his life around, but it's clear he was struggling with his mental health far more than he let on. In early 2020, 2 years after his death, his family sued Megalomedia, the production company behind My 600 Pound Life, claiming that they played a part in LB's death. According to his family, family, LB's physical and mental health suffered dramatically post-surgery, and the producers offered little assistance. The lawsuit reads, in part, due to the rapid weight loss and lack of sufficient care, LB's teeth became loose and some fell out. His vision became impaired and he suffered from general malaise. His family claims all of these factors proved too much for LB to handle, resulting in his suicide. LB was a much loved figure in the My 600 Pound Life community, just as much as the next star of our show, who was in a much more recent episode too. In 2022, we met the super morbidly obese Larry Myers Jr., also known as Buttermilk Biscuits, who was given the nickname after going viral for singing a song about buttermilk biscuits at a chicken restaurant. Before being on the show, however, Larry was well known as a fantastic gospel singer, something that meant a lot to him. For Larry, a second surgery means a second chance as a gospel singer. It was impossible not to like Larry, as his hardworking personality was present throughout the episode. As we're introduced to him, we learn about his myriad of health problems: asthma, sleep apnea, thyroid problems, lymphedema, and depression. He is almost completely immobile, relying on his caretaker Lawrence to visit him 7 days a week to help wash and feed him. Larry's lymphedema is also an enormous struggle for him, especially in his right leg, which is almost double the size of his left as a result of this chronic disease. This makes walking extremely difficult and painful, to the point where Larry can only stand up for 4 minutes. Normal tasks that most people do every day, like having a shower, is extremely dangerous and difficult for Larry due to his size. Larry's also an extreme germaphobe, making sure to shower at least once a day, even using bleach to clean himself. He claims that the depression is the root of his obesity, as whenever he's not eating, he feels fully immersed in negative thoughts. Eating is his only comfort, which Larry uses as a way to escape those thoughts. Viewers of the show are surprised by Larry's openness about his condition. I give a lot of credit to this man for being so honest about this condition. His personality is evident throughout the episode too, as we don't see the typical selfish behavior with Larry that we often see with many other stars featured on the show. He seems like a genuinely nice man, and despite his weight, he's still able to move around more than most. I hope he can lose the weight and have a better life. Larry seeks out Dr. Now to change his life around, and at a starting weight of 940 pounds, he would be one of Dr. Now's biggest patients yet. He sets out on the 26-hour journey to the hospital, accompanied by Lawrence. This road trip was especially difficult for Larry, as there is a significant risk he could get a blood clot, which could be life-threatening. Larry's sister actually died as a result of a blood clot, and this therefore causes Larry a great deal of anxiety. The car ride ended up taking an excruciating total of 5 days, during which Larry experienced severe leg pain, which caused him to go straight to the emergency department of the hospital. This caused great concern for Dr. Now. If we don't act fast, his life will be in jeopardy. After running a couple of medical tests, Dr. Now confirms that Larry wasn't at risk of a blood clot. The most important thing at this point for Larry was to lose the excess weight for good, in hopes of reducing his risk of multiple health problems, as he's already gained over 400 pounds over 5 years after his first weight loss procedure. Under the instruction of Dr. Now, Larry successfully follows the weight program and lost a whopping 700 pounds, a higher weight loss than some of the contestants' overall weight. Larry's positive and uplifting spirit aided his weight loss as he continued to work hard for a second chance at life and at singing gospel. Continuing to lose weight after the show ended, Larry posted a progress photo to Instagram to document his transformation. One comment wrote, "I absolutely love you. I'm so proud of the progress you've made. The whole time I'm watching, I kept saying I need to be friends with Larry." He even went on to release a book titled The Weight of Grief, one man's journey to overcome addiction and find hope, as well as becoming a motivational speaker. Unfortunately for fans though, this positivity wouldn't last forever, and on June 10th, 2023, one announcement came that would leave fans shocked. Larry passed away at the age of just 49, 3 days after his birthday. His cousin posted to Facebook, "It's with great sorrow that we announce the passing of my dear cousin Larry Larry Myers. Many of you know him as Mr. Buttermilk Biscuits. If you can help us, we would greatly appreciate it. Larry has fought the good fight. He's overcome some of the biggest challenges he has ever had to face. Rest well, Junior, you will be missed. The cause of death was officially ruled as a heart attack in his home in Houston, Texas. So far, each of the stars we have covered have been well liked by fans, but another 600-pound life star with a story a little less favourable than our previously mentioned stars is Angela Gutierrez. As well as being one of the more controversial stars of the show, Angela also previously had weight loss surgery before coming onto the programme, but was unable to keep up with any sort of weight loss afterwards. While on the show, we learn that Angela reaches over 600 pounds and desperately seeks the help of Dr. Now to change her life around quickly before it's too late. At this point, Angela seems determined to lose the weight and keep it off for good, but after moving to Texas with her boyfriend, everything seems to go downhill pretty quickly. During her treatment, Angela continuously misses all of her hospital appointments with Dr. Now over a period of 6 months. Viewers quickly learn that Angela is full of excuses, blaming everyone and everything but herself. She claims that she couldn't find a way to get to the hospital, or that she was too sick to go. The infuriating thing here is that Angela could have alerted Dr. Now of these reasons before her appointments, so that he could have worked out a solution for her, perhaps arranging transport for Angela or rescheduling when she feels better. However, Angela chose to ignore Dr. Now's phone calls for weeks. Several months later, Angela eventually reaches out, claiming that she feels better, and on a video call with Dr. Now, he cuts straight to the point.
We have a bit of an issue again because you missed your appointment again, saying you were sick, but turned out you weren't. So what is your excuse this time?
She lists off a myriad of different excuses, but Dr. Now simply doesn't listen to them.
You're more delusional than I thought if you still think you can manipulate me. And when it comes to this program, you're not special. And lying to me about your weight is not going to get me to tell you what you want.
One commenter's pointed out the severity of the situation. You're literally on an oxygen tank and you can't make time to meet with your doctor. It's not hard to see why Angela had gained such a terrible reputation. Several months later on the program, Angela decided that she will no longer participate in Dr. Now's program and instead claims that she's already losing weight by herself and will continue to do so at home. Well, according to her Facebook, the star passed away on March 21st, 2023. Days before her death, she posted the following on her page. Well, I'm in Huntington. Time to figure out why my oxygen wants to stay in the 70s and just reboot myself and get better. This was the best decision I've ever made and I'm doing it for my girls. It remains unclear what Angela's actual death was, but it's certain that she was struggling with her health. The next star struggled equally as much, but didn't have quite the bad reputation Angela did. One of the youngest stars ever, Ashley Randall, shares a similar story to those we've already mentioned. She grew up with an abusive mother and resorted to food as a mean of escape away from the abuse. Throughout the show, viewers were alarmed with the way Ashley's mother spoke to her, as she never seemed supportive or encouraging of her weight loss journey. Viewers who had also been through similar circumstances with abusive parents commented that Ashley would never be able to live a happy and healthy lifestyle until she cut off her mother and started to live life without her. While on the show, Ashley reveals that her biggest fear is dying within a year. When she finally starts her treatment program with Dr. Now, Ashley weighs in at over 600 pounds with a target weight of 140 pounds. As she features on the first season of the show, Dr. Now's program runs a little differently to the newer episodes, as Ashley is approved for surgery straight away without the need to lose any weight beforehand. After the surgery, she sticks to the program and loses weight at every single weigh-in. Admittedly, a little slower than expected, but a loss is a loss nevertheless. She even qualifies for a skin removal surgery after losing over 200 pounds. After another year and another significant weight loss, she qualifies for a second weight loss surgery, removing almost 100 pounds of excess fat and skin. As the episode draws to a close, Ashley continues to lose weight gradually on her own, getting closer each day to a dream of opening a nursery and being able to look after children. Once the show had finished, Ashley's father sadly passed away, and in her grief, she gained over 100 pounds. Despite his death, she revealed that she wasn't ready to give up on her weight loss goal yet, But unfortunately, Ashley's body became septic and she ended up passing away after fighting a terrible infection. Her family reported that she encountered a number of additional health problems contributing to her death, even developing pneumonia. Ashley's story is incredibly tragic, especially as she was so close to her weight loss goal despite numerous setbacks. The next and final star of part 2 was almost as controversial as Angela Gutierrez, but for different reasons.
I just lay here all day and wait for food.
Claims our next star, 27-year-old Destinee Lashaee. Destinee struggles with depression and turns to food for support, a regular occurrence for a lot of the stars on My 600 Pound Life. Despite this, Destinee knew that her habits around food that brought comfort to her were also threatening her life.
My situation is at a breaking point. I need to get help. I need to be able to lose this weight or they're gonna be burying me next.
Destinee also has a traumatic start to life, as her mother gave birth to her when she was only a teenager herself, so Destinee was placed in foster care and weighed as much as 150 pounds by the time she was 9 years old. Viewers also learned that Destinee's brother had also passed away, something which she deeply struggles with and is a cause for her weight gain. One commenter shares their similar situation, pointing out how the stress of a loved one dying can cause you to resort to eating for emotional support. Sorry about your brother. My brother was murdered in 2013 and death contributed to my depression that led to my weight gain. Destinee also mentions how she's afraid that if she loses weight, she will also lose her curves and her breasts, and says that since gaining the weight, she's felt more feminine. Destinee's weight loss was also crucial to her journey as a transgender woman, as she needed to lose a substantial amount of weight to be approved as a candidate for gender-affirming surgeries. All of these factors contributed to Destinee's weight gain, but now, as her quality of life has deteriorated, she no longer feels happy with herself, and she seeks the help of Dr. Now to start her weight loss journey. The appointments give Destinee a lot of anxiety, as she's incredibly fixated on making sure she's lost the weight to qualify for surgery, but thanks to her motivation, Destinee lost the initial weight and qualified for weight loss surgery, losing over 500 pounds across the duration of the show. Unfortunately, her mental health issues persisted, despite her massive achievement, and in 2020, Destinee filed a lawsuit against the production company behind My 600 Pound Life, claiming that the production's treatment of her during filming made her suicidal. She alleges that she was taken advantage of and exploited while she was dealing with emotional distress from her brother's death. On social media, however, Destinee posted her journey and shared inspirational messages. We fall, we break, we fail, but then we rise, we heal, and we overcome. However, in February 2022, Destinee's other brother announced to Facebook that she'd passed away. While no cause of death was officially given, it's likely Destinee had committed suicide due to her battle with mental health. We first meet Gina in season 8 of the show in 2020, where she weighed a staggering 606 pounds. Her weight and approach to self-care started to put a lot of strain on her home life, with her mother and her wife having to beg Gina to take a monthly bath. Her problems seemed to stem from when she was just a child, with Gina admitting that her childhood was extremely tough, with her explaining that her father would physically and emotionally abuse her, going as far as to punch her in the face. She claims her sister got all of the attention from her parents during her childhood, and this led to intense feelings of jealousy towards her. This in turn led Gina to find other ways to comfort herself, and the answer in her eyes would be food. She explains that at pretty much every opportunity she would eat in order to feel better, and by the time she was 10 years old, she was already 150 pounds. Her mother, who she's still around quite a lot, has revealed that she feels like she failed as a mother. If Gina threw a tantrum because she wanted food, instead of fighting her on this, she just gave in and gave her the food. This is something that has affected Gina all the way into her adult life, as we'll see later the way she treats her wife on things as simple as ordering food. Gina's weight started to spiral out of control as she was trapped in a vicious cycle of being bullied at school, which led her to being more troublesome at home. This in turn led to more abuse, which led to more eating. eating. As she got older and left home, the abuse stopped, but the eating didn't, and this has led her to become fully dependent on her wife and family to bring her food, as she can barely leave the comfort of her armchair. The worst part about Gina's situation is that her whole family is massively overweight, and it seems like they all enable the behavior of each other. After Gina's wife, Beth, finished a long shift at work, the overweight family huddled around the phone as Gina called Beth to ask what she was going to do for food, despite 4 people being there and fully able to cook. However, they tell Beth to collect fast food, and after Beth says no, this is how Gina and the family responds.
Can you go to the diner and pick up us some food?
No, we have food at home. I can cook at home.
You're not gonna cook this late.
I can.
What's the big friggin' deal? I don't get it. Just go.
Wait, you gotta call it.
No, you're gonna call because you have to call.
Evidently, something needed to change, as Gina's life is genuinely in danger to her massive weight, and something did change. She eventually set up a meeting with Dr. Now in the St. Joseph Medical Center in Houston, Texas. Gina and Dr. Now had multiple meetings throughout the year that she was on the program, which is ample time to lose hundreds of pounds if you stick to a weight loss program. When she started the program, she was 606 pounds, and by the end of the year, she was ready to start her weight loss surgery. However, in a shocking moment, after Dr. Now weighed Gina at 550 pounds, 50 pounds over her weight loss goal, he made a very tough but necessary decision.
So I'm canceling your surgery and we're not moving ahead with that today.
Gina was often on Dr. Now's program, but being eventually kicked off the surgery wait list may have been a blessing in disguise, as Gina shared to her personal TikTok page that she was 100 pounds down. From 2020 to 2021, Gina posted multiple TikToks of her enjoying life and sharing her dancing videos, seemingly having a lot more mobility than she had when she was on the show. However, this wouldn't last long. In 2021, she announced that she'd got to 379 pounds, but around the same time, her cellulitis had become extremely painful and started to spread, bringing on neurological issues too. And in August of 2021, just a few months after the weight loss announcement, her sister told the world that Gina had tragically died to a mysterious condition.
I'm Gina's older sister, Allie, and unfortunately, Gina has passed away.
The next star started in a similar position as Gina, but was actually successful in Dr. Now's program. Laura Ann Perez is a native of San Antonio in Texas, and started her weight loss journey in excess of 600 pounds. She's not quite bedbound, however does rely on her husband to bring her food and help her live her life, which includes lugging around the oxygen tanks which help keep her from choking. When her husband brings her food, it's usually in the form of sweets and chocolate, which she usually has massive amounts of. She has a self-proclaimed sweet tooth and would rather eat sweet and unhealthy foods, which are obviously much higher in calories when compared to whole food meals. Laura breaks down at one point and says she wants to have a future and a life, including having a job and providing for her family, but she's worried she's going to die very soon. Before seeing Dr. Now, she claims that multiple other doctors failed to help her, so this was her final resort. She was surprisingly open with Dr. Now, admitting straight away that she knows her issue is sweets, candy, and chocolate.
I'll try to find anything sweet, like candy or a lot of cake.
Although the initial meeting with the doctor seems positive as they all seem quite cheerful, there's a dark undertone as Dr. Now asserted to Laura that she will die soon if something doesn't change, and given she's diabetic and already can't breathe unassisted, this will be sooner rather than later. And quite unexpectedly, this talk actually worked. It seems like most of the 600-pound lifestyles I cover don't actually apply themselves to their weight loss, but Laura did, and more importantly, so did her husband, who stopped bringing her sweets and swapped it for vegetables. Laura exercised as best as she could and ate in a caloric deficit, and evidently this wasn't just for the cameras, as after 3 months she had lost 56 pounds, which pleased Dr. Now so much that he approved her for weight loss surgery. Despite some issues during her surgery, which was changed last minute to a gastric sleeve due to complications and left Laura with pneumonia, she powered on with her weight loss journey and lost in total a whopping 237 pounds, leaving Dr. Dr. Now's office for the final time, weighing 357 pounds. Her husband, Dr. Now, and of course Laura herself were all ecstatic and extremely proud of the efforts put into losing the weight. Sadly though, this happiness wouldn't last forever, as the family would soon be left heartbroken. Despite getting down to a reported 183 pounds, which is a massive achievement and one of the show's greatest success stories, in 2021, it was announced that Laura had lost her life 9 years after the show aired. It's not confirmed what her cause of death was, as the family didn't release it and her obituary doesn't state it. However, with her diabetes and past obesity, people have speculated that it was a result of cardiac issues. Laura was a much loved figure, and people online were quick to share their pain. The comments on this Reddit thread are the complete opposite to the one about Lisa Fleming, who one Reddit commenter dubbed the worst human ever. Lisa Fleming lived a very sad existence, enlisting her daughter and her young grandson to help her do everything, such as feeding herself and cleaning up after her. YouTube commenters have pointed out the awful situation the grandson is in, stating, "It's extremely sad that the grandson has to be subjected to this. This is just generational trauma developing before our eyes." Lisa's excuse for having a controversial attitude is that her father died when she was very young, and that because he was on life support, she was the one that had to make the decision to turn that off. This led Lisa down a path of drinking and partying, resulting in a teenage pregnancy for herself. She said that as long as she stayed drunk, the feelings couldn't hurt her. This would end up in tragedy though, as one day during a party at her house, a fight broke out which her brother tried to stop, and ended up with him being fatally shot. Lisa blamed herself, and so did her mother, which just added to the negative feelings. As Lisa carried on with her life, she steadily gained weight and became increasingly reliant on her family to provide for her. By the time we meet her in the show, in season 6 in 2018, Lisa weighed 700 pounds. She eventually contacted Dr. Now and made the 6-hour journey via ambulance to see him, and her attitude to weight loss is very comparable to that of James King's, who's featured in my previous 2 videos. You'd think the fact that the paramedics had to reinforce the foundations of her home just so she could leave would be enough to make a change, but Lisa did not see it that way. She was dismissive of Dr. Now's advice and screamed in pain as the doctors tried their best to help her. When Dr. Now questioned why she hadn't lost any weight, despite being given a strict diet plan, she says that she just wants a surgery and doesn't think she'd gained any weight. She even complains when she's given a 1,200 calorie diet. Despite this though, Lisa did make a good attempt at weight loss. However, a shocking revelation came about, as the woman helping her lose weight questioned why she hid ice cream in the house, and Lisa told her it's a bribe for her boyfriend to perform sexual favors for her. After a while, it was increasingly obvious that she wasn't going to lose any weight, as she refused to give up her unhealthy lifestyle. Despite complaining daily of the pain she needed to endure, she wasn't going to stop eating and seemingly wanted an easy way out of the situation. Well, Dr. Now wasn't just going to give her weight loss surgery, so there wasn't an easy way out unfortunately, but she wouldn't have too much time to dwell on that fact unfortunately, as the show had barely wrapped up filming, and before they could even film her Where Are They Now episode, Lisa's body unfortunately gave in to the weight and she died aged 50 in 2018. People in Reddit comments stated that while this is a very sad situation for the family, it should act as a warning to all future stars of the show, proving that when Dr. Now says he will not live without action, he's not joking. And the next patient proves that tragedies do happen even while in the care of Dr. Now, and the heartbreaking end of Coliesa's story shows this like no other. Coliesa McMillan appeared in season 8 of the show and weighed around 643 pounds at the start, although during her stay with the doctor she got it to as low as 590 pounds. Coliesa had 4 children in her 20s and unfortunately had an extremely difficult life during this time, as her husband was abusive towards her. Like most of the stars in the show, she ate to comfort herself and ended up weighing nearly 400 pounds by the time she was 24. Eventually, when she was 30 years old and 500 pounds, he got arrested and she moved the family to Louisiana. However, the comfort eating followed with her. The true effects of this comfort eating wouldn't show up until she was 39, when she had a major heart attack, which actually caused her heart to stop beating completely. Given the fact she was 500 pounds, Coliesa was far too big to operate on, so they weren't able to perform the corrective surgery to fix the damage caused by the heart attack. Coliesa herself called her heart a ticking time bomb, which was unfortunately foreshadowing a tragic future. Now 40 years old in 2020, she sought the help of Dr. Now to finally change her life around, using the love for her 4 daughters as fuel to power her weight loss journey. She initially showed a good work ethic, losing 144 pounds during her stay. Dr. Now finally approved her for bariatric surgery, which presumably filled the family with hope for the future that she will finally shift the weight. However, almost immediately after the surgery, issues started to crop up. A suture, or a stitch, popped internally for Coliesa and she hemorrhaged, which is incredibly dangerous internal bleeding. However, Dr. Now did emergency surgery to fix this issue quickly. Apparently after the surgery though, she never really recovered and spent months in hospital on a ventilator where more issues would arise. Apparently the show doesn't follow the correct events, but a Facebook post shared by her niece may give us a better idea on what happened to Coliesa. She spent 1.5 months on a ventilator in ICU in Houston. She was partially paralyzed from that point. She developed a nasty bed sore and a UTI. She was afraid of going to the doctor due to COVID. Eventually, she went to the ER where they found she was septic and her kidneys were failing. Her condition worsened and antibiotics were not effective. Within a week of her being in ICU, she passed. Reddit commenters were quick to share their feelings, with one saying, "I am heartbroken. I wanted so badly for her to succeed, especially considering her horrible backstory." Kelly Mason also had a troubled background and suffered one of the most humiliating and dangerous scenes on the show when she was physically stuck in the car on the way home from the hospital. When Kelly started the show, she was 700 pounds and appeared in season 7, which aired in 2019. Growing up, she lived with her grandparents due to an absent mother and a father who had another family. However, after watching her grandfather die in front of her due to a heart attack, her mother was forced to look after Kelly. Her mother, having not much experience raising a child, allowed Kelly to binge on fast food and lead an unhealthy life, which meant her weight skyrocketed. Living in North Carolina at the start of the show, she said that every single step she takes is torture, and it's getting worse by the day. Despite this, she can't knock the addiction that she has to food. When Kelly first meets Dr. Now on the show, he lists every health problem affecting her, which leaves you thinking why she hadn't sought help earlier. Diabetes, blood clots, high blood pressure, arthritis, thyroid issues, and on top of this, a recent hospital visit due to heart failure. Upon leaving this hospital visit is where the infamous taxi scene occurs, where Kelly seemingly gets stuck after falling forward in the car, leading to a team of medical workers and firefighters having to fight to get her out. Dr. Now showed his caring side of this incident as he tried to calm Kelly down as she was at serious risk of another cardiac arrest. Eventually, the team successfully got Kelly out of the van. During her time on the show, Kelly lost around 100 pounds. However, she was still left with the issue of a weak heart. This had to be fixed with increased exercise, which should help to strengthen her heart and allow it to be able to work correctly. Kelly really committed to this, and after being approved for weight loss surgery, she was able to drop around 350 pounds from her original 700 pound weight, which is a mammoth achievement. However, this was still too little too late. Kelly's final appearance before the cameras was her calling her old college professor, announcing she would be finally going back to school to finish her degree. But this would not happen, as in 2019, just 2 weeks after a final checkup with Dr. Now, she died of heart failure. A Reddit commenter shared their thoughts about how much they loved Kelly and talked about how she was a beautiful spirit who had dealt with so much throughout her life, which goes a long way to show just how loved she was as a patient of Dr. Now. And the final patient to see Dr. Now was just as heartbreaking, which was Renee Biran in season 6. Renee weighed 631 pounds at the start of her episode and was actually a plus size model. Her life though was a constant battle with her weight, which had devastating effects on her health, mobility, and overall quality of life. Her issues stem, yet again, from a tough childhood. She turned to food for comfort following a series of traumatic events. Growing up, she faced significant distress, particularly after her parents' divorce and the subsequent abuse she suffered at the hands of her stepfather. These early experiences set the stage for a lifetime of emotional eating and weight gain. The weight carried on piling on throughout her life, and she ended up suffering from massive swelling in her legs and feet, known as lymphedema, something a lot of the patients who see Dr. Now need to suffer through. When she finally met Dr. Now for a consultation, she was admitted to the emergency room straight away with breathing problems. This turned out not to be serious though, and the show carried on as normal, with her revealing her goal was to lose enough weight to qualify for weight loss surgery from Dr. Now. However, this would be a bumpy road, as she was diagnosed with a very rare disease known as Guillain-Barré syndrome, which causes lung blood clots, blood infections, and even cardiac arrest. Despite the challenges she faced, Renee did manage to lose 250 pounds and kept fans of the show updated through her Facebook page. However, very similar to the other patients, even though she lost a massive amount of weight, it still wasn't enough, and she died at 51 years old in May of 2021. Although no cause of death was officially announced, people have suspected that her life was claimed by the Guillain-Barré syndrome, and her life was cut short just a year after her show aired. This is the final part in the 600 Pound Life's Death series on my channel, and the upcoming videos will be a lot more positive, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss them, and click the videos on your screen now to ensure you've seen part 1 and 2.
And so highly recommend you go and follow Big Craig, 31,000 followers.